Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Svenja and today I'm back for another regular style knitting podcast episode where I catch you up with what I've been knitting and some plans for the future. So thanks so much for being here. I know it's been a couple weeks since I last uploaded any type of content, so thanks for holding out for another episode. So yeah, let's jump right in. Before we talk knits, I just wanted to say a very special thank you to the sponsor of this episode. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm wearing these cute little silver hoops. They're by the brand Ana Luisa, who is a jewelry company that specializes in tarnish-free, long-lasting, minimalist jewelry. Now, I'm a very simple girl when it comes to jewelry. I don't own a lot of it, and the pieces that I do have are simple and understated, especially if I'm wearing something handmade. I never want to overpower it with like a loud or busy accessory. So I was really excited when Ana Luisa reached out offering to send me some of their pieces to try, and I'm happy to report I've been wearing these for the last 3 weeks consecutively, like sleeping, showering, working out, you name it, and they've been in. And first of all, I've had no issues with them falling out, which has not been the case with other hoops I've worn in the past. They have this really neat locking mechanism in the back. I've had zero issues with sensitivity, which has been an issue in the past. And yeah, I'm just really happy with the overall fit. And I actually forgot that they were in prior to filming the episode here. So yeah, I'm super happy with them. Ana Luisa is also a company that prides itself on being friendly to the environment. So if you are interested in trying out some Ana Luisa jewelry yourself, I'll leave a little link in the description to this video with exactly what I'm wearing here, as well as a 20% off coupon. So again, thank you so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's podcast. Alrighty, so it's been a really nice warm spring here in Maine, and I've been outside a lot enjoying the weather and planting, gardening. My husband and I have even snuck in a couple camping trips already. So yeah, despite being outside a lot, I've gotten a lot of knitting done and have a lot to show you today. So not quite sure how long this episode is going to be, but we will see. So let's dive right in. I'm going to show you what I'm wearing first, and this is something I actually haven't talked about on a podcast or shared on my Instagram. So yeah, I'm just going to stand up and show it to you. So it's a little t-shirt here. There's a v-neck in the front and then a v-neck in the back. And then a really cute little split hem. And I'm just wearing it with a regular pair of jeans. So this is actually a test knit. The pattern comes out next week, so no fear. It will be available soon. I don't do a lot of test knits. I probably average like 1 to 2 a year. I really hold out for like designers that I have worked with in the past. Or patterns that I would probably knit otherwise if I weren't chosen as a test knitter. So I was really excited to be able to participate in this one. This pattern just really caught my eye. So this is by the designer Caidree. Her name is Sabina. And I've knit a lot of her patterns in the past, and I just really love her, design style and the way she writes patterns, and she's also a lovely person to work with. So thank you so much, Sabina, for choosing me as a test knitter. This is called the Suri V-neck, which is again a t-shirt. You could maybe call it a tank top because it doesn't have kind of full sleeves. And like I said, the pattern comes out next week. I test knit this over the last 3 to 4 weeks in a group, mainly on Instagram, and it's been a really fun process. I had a lot of fun knitting this. Test knits always kind of keep you on schedule because there's, progress that you're seeing through the group that helps to keep you motivated, as well as a deadline, which is really important for me to keep as a test knitter. I think it's really important to respect the designer in that sense. So yeah, so I've been knitting on this pretty exclusively. It is a fingering weight pattern. It is knit from the top down. The front and the back are knit individually, sort of, and then it's all kind of connected under the sleeves and then finished out in the round. So yeah, not to give away too much from the design, but a beautiful design, very enjoyable to knit, very clear instructions. And I think the overall look of this is a really kind of professional, tailored design. I really like the I-cord finishing that's here on the neck, and then the ribbing accents here, they're finished off with a tubular bind off, which is really nice. So yeah, I don't want to, obviously share too much about the pattern. I actually am shocked how quickly I flew through a fingering weight tee pattern. I don't typically knit a lot of like spring and summer designs, mainly because I don't love working with like cotton or linen yarns. They just kind of hurt my hands, or they're just not as, I guess, like enjoyable, or I don't know, something about it kind of hurts my hands working with it. But I am warming up to the idea of knitting more summer, patterns. I think it's really nice to be able to have something short sleeve to be able to wear. I have a few events coming up, like graduations and family things, so perhaps I can wear this with like a cute pair of white pants or something like that. Yeah, so pattern was excellent. The yarn that I used was actually what was recommended in the color that Sabina knit her sample in as well. I just loved exactly what she had made, so I wanted to make the same thing, which I don't think I've actually ever done, that is make exactly what is advertised. So that's kind of funny in that sense. So this is knit in Pascuali yarn, which is a new to me yarn. It's again a fingering weight yarn, and it's a cotton alpaca blend, non-superwash obviously, and it was in the color 58, which I don't think it has technically a name, but yeah, 58 was the color. And I used just under what was recommended for my size. I believe I knit the size small. And yeah, I think I used somewhere around like 175 grams to knit this. And I did knit the pattern exactly as written, except for the length. I think it was either 1 or 2 centimeters that I knit the body before starting the ribbing. I just reduced it by like 1 or 2 centimeters because I wanted it just a little bit cropped. And then I steam blocked it, so this has not been wet blocked, and I expect that, wearing this in warm weather, I will sweat a little bit and at some point want to wash this. So I wanted it to be a little bit cropped and a little bit on the smaller side, because traditionally yarns like this with this fiber content will tend to grow a lot after wet blocking. So we will see how that works out. So yeah, overall, a really fun project. Again, I'm shocked how quickly this flew off the needles. And yeah, to my fellow test knitter group, I had a great time seeing all of your different projects. And there was one tester who knit this in a yellow, like a really pretty yellow color. I don't ever wear yellow, probably because of my blonde hair. It just kind of clashes, but I thought it was just so unique and beautiful. So yeah, if you are interested in this pattern, I think it's really versatile for different like body types. It can easily be adjusted for the bust size. Lengthwise is easy to adjust as well. So I think this is a great fitting pattern for a lot of different types of bodies. And let me just double check. She has the sizes included everywhere from an extra small to a 5XL. So that spans a bust size. That's including ease. And I would have to get back to you on what the actual ease is. But the bust sizes here are from 83 centimeters all the way up to 162. So all of Caidree's designs are always size inclusive. That's part of why I love knitting her patterns. So yeah, again, great project, and thanks again, Sabina, for having me as a test knitter. Okay, so my second finished object here, I've shared a lot about this in prior episodes as well as on my Instagram, and I have a lot to talk about because, yeah, there's some issues with this, but it's okay. You know, I wonder if I would actually call this a flop project. We all have those. But I'm trying to see the bright side and still being very open-minded about what to do with this. So I might as well just get into it. So here is my moonset tee. It's all finished. It's blocked. I've worn it just a few times to try it on. And yeah, the moonset tee is patterned by Ozetta, who's another one of my favorite designers. I have loved this design for a long time. I'm really obviously digging the V-neck. And yeah, this pattern has a really nice kind of overlapping V-neck here in a rib, and then the rest of it is stockinette, and it's finished out with an I-cord on both the hem as well as the sleeves. There's this like drop shoulder sleeve here that is really nice. Yeah, overall just a really nice pattern. So I knit this, I probably finished it a couple weeks ago, and I cast this on as means to start using up some of my stash yarn. So if you've been watching my videos, you probably would have heard me talk a little bit about me being a little bit more intentional this year about what comes into my stash and then working for my stash as well. So yeah, I went digging in my stash one day and found this yarn that I'll talk about in a second, and I had enough of it basically to make, you know, a short sleeve garment like this or like a shawl. So I chose the moonset pattern. It had been in my library for a while, and the yarn that I used is called Juniper Moon Farm Organic Merino, which is technically a DK weight yarn. It's a woolen spun yarn, and this is in the shade Pearl. So here is the dilemma. This is way too big for me, and it's not way too big. It's supposed to be an oversized shirt. However, it's too oversized. It's a little bit too big for me. I'll put in a little like overlay of a video of me wearing it in a picture as well, so and you'll see what I mean. So here's kind of what I did. When I've worked with this yarn before, it felt more like a fingering weight yarn, which is what this pattern is written for. So in my mind, I thought it would be, you know, an easy substitution, and I would want to take into consideration that it is a woolen spun yarn, and the pattern kind of similar to the Suri called for a fingering weight like summer yarn or like merino or something like that. A yarn that has like a little bit more drape. Yeah, so this quality of yarn, the woolen spun, has a little bit of a thick and thin quality to it, and I was also thinking, you know, if I were to knit this, I would want the fabric to be drapey enough, but expecting that there would not be as much stretch as well, or drape when knitting this in this yarn. So my thought process was that if I sized up and knit, you know, a bigger size that I normally would, I could potentially mitigate some of those issues. Looking back, I don't know if that really makes any sense. And now that I explain it and like talk it out loud, it doesn't make that much sense actually. So that's all on me. And yeah, interestingly, I met Gage and then proceeded to make a bigger size than I would normally wear. So that probably explains this dilemma of having a garment that is just way too big for me. So totally my fault. Had nothing to do with the pattern. I actually love this pattern, and I'm considering making it again in a fingering weight, more summery yarn. And yeah, this was a really good lesson in terms of, yarn substitution and, yeah, giving real thought to making changes like this. Now, after this is done, it definitely does feel like a sport to DK weight fabric. It's not a fingering weight yarn. So yeah, so here we are. What can I say? These things happen. Still a wonderful project. I had a lot of fun making it. Interestingly too, like, as I was making this, it got to a point where, you can see how it's going to look. I got to like probably here on the body, and I remember thinking like, oh, that kind of looks a little bit wider than, what I would expect to knit it. Totally brushed it off, kept on knitting. I probably should have like hit the brakes a little bit at that point and backtracked, but it is what it is. So I've been thinking about what I can do with this. So I could just wear it as is, which is totally fine. I can wear things that are too big for me. I do it all the time. I have plenty of sweatshirts and sweatpants that are just like, oversized and cozy and comfy, and I have no problem with that. So I could definitely do that. However, it's something that I made and I spent a lot of time on. So I kind of want it to go to someone that would appreciate it and wear it regularly, like, a little in a nicer way, nicer than just hanging out at home. So I've been thinking a little bit about some friends that are maybe like a little bit taller or have wider shoulders or something that, a body type that would look a little bit better in this, just, a size bigger. And yeah, I might start to shoot off a couple text messages to people. So if any of my non-knitting friends are watching this and you have interest in trying this on to see if it would fit you, let me know and we can arrange something. Yeah. I had some comments from others about potentially selling this, but I'm kind of phasing that out. I'm no longer active on Etsy as I was in years past, so I don't really want to go through the trouble of selling anything. And I also think it would really, really nice for a friend or family member if they were interested in something like this, and they would get a lot of wear out of it and appreciate it, then I'm happy to gift it forward. So that's my moon set. Again, I would knit this again. I do love the idea of like a neutral color. I think it would go really well with jeans or whatever bottoms. Yeah, so let me know if you have had projects like this before or what you think I should do. Yeah. All right. Moving on, I have another, actually two finished objects here. And yeah, I have a lot to say about these, and I'm just going to show you first because what can I say? So this is called the Good Bear. He's a little tiny bear and like stealing my heart. He's hard to show on camera here because it's not really focusing, but yeah, he's 3D, so how cute is he? I actually made a second version, which I'll show you in a second. So a little bit about this pattern and why I chose to make this. So this is called the Good Bear, which is a pattern by Susan B. Anderson, who is a well-known kind of like, little stuffy designer and lots of little cute, ornaments. I don't know, you gotta check her out. She has some adorable designs. So yeah, this is called the Good Bear. It calls for a sport weight yarn, but you can obviously use whatever yarn works for you because, whatever needle size you use, it's just gonna make a bigger or smaller project. It's, he's obviously 3D, so it is a lot of knitting and kind of, stuffing him as you go. However, it's a really simple pattern. So anyone who looks at this and is intimidated, don't be. If you can read instructions and follow through and, you know, increase, decrease, and, you know, you're going to be fine. You can definitely knit something like this. It looks a lot more challenging than it is. I mean, how cute is he? Like his little nose, his little ears. He even has like a little tail here under his pants. Look at me. I feel like this is not appropriate for YouTube. YouTube, don't block me. Don't restrict my content showing my bear's bum. So yeah, I knit him to pattern except for one modification, and I'll talk about that in a second. And I used Let Lopi, which is a Icelandic yarn for the body, and then both his shirt and his pants I roughly use the pattern, but because Let Lopi is a worsted weight yarn, the clothing that is included in the pattern was going to be too small. So I kind of just based off some of the stitch counts and construction. I based that off of the pattern, and then I kind of made it up as I went. So this is actually, his shirt is the same yarn. It's just the leftover yarn from the moon set, which is so cute. It's like a little matching set. And then I added on like a little pocket. And I did take some pictures of him last week, and I just put like a few little flowers in his pocket, which was really cute. And then the pants, I have no idea what yarn they are. The yarn it is, it's like a scrap yarn that was in my stash. And then the nose and the eyes are embroidered on with a, I believe it's Alpaca Cloud by Knit Picks, but obviously any like black yarn or embroidery thread would work. All right, so yeah, so that's Good Bear. What was I gonna say? Oh, the one modification that I made. So when you get to the back of his head here, the back of his head is knit like a sock heel. So if you've ever knit a sock heel, you're kind of working flat back and forth. And then the remainder of his head is kind of picked up here like the rest of the sock would be. And so in the pattern, it has you slipping both sides, similar to what you would do in a sock. However, when I went ahead and picked up the rest of the head, the stitches were just really, really loose, and this kind of transition here between the face and the back of the head was just really wonky stitches. I don't really know what that was about. I know there's a lot of different types of techniques you can use to neaten that up, but I just made it really easy. And when I got to picking up the back flap, I just added on 2 stitches to both sides with like a standard backward loop cast on, and I purled those. Did I purl them? I purled them just to see a little bit of a contrast. So I slipped no stitches. I just kind of purled and then knit. I just, you know, followed the pattern. And then when I went ahead and picked up the stitches, there was just, you know, no wonky stitches. It just created a much smoother and neater, or neater edge, not smoother. So that would be my one recommendation. Otherwise, I knit everything to pattern here. Great written pattern. Super easy to follow. There's some pictures throughout that make it a little bit easier to follow along, especially if you haven't knit something 3D like this. I don't know why I keep on saying 3D. All of our knits are usually 3D, but you know what I mean. I've knit a few little stuffies like this. I'm actually embarrassed to show the other ones. I'm looking up there because they're on a shelf. They just look really funny. Okay, I'm just gonna have to show you them. Okay, so I'm laughing because this was a little dog that I knit, and he looks more like a mouse. He's just really funny. It's all about the ear placement. So yeah, maybe I'll try this pattern again. I knit this a couple of years ago. So he's, oh my god. Wild. We're getting wild here. Okay. Yeah, little dog pattern. Okay. I'm losing focus. So back to Good Bear. I actually knit another Good Bear shortly after. Yet the second Good Bear does not have any clothes. So this is second Good Bear. I'll show them to you together. So, yeah, I just couldn't get enough of him. So I knit this guy too. I just finished him this morning and gave him a nice steam blocking, which, yes, I block my little animals too because it just helps to kind of soften up the yarn a little bit. So yeah, naked second Good Bear is also made in Let Lopi. However, I also held a single strand of mohair along with him. I just wanted to play a little bit with the overall texture of the yarn and see if the mohair added much. And I think it does. I think he's charming, being a little bit more floofy. So yeah, again, same thing here, you know, same modification with the heel flap. He is a tiny little bit bigger, not by much. And now I get to be really creative and figure out what kind of clothes I'm gonna knit him. He kind of, because he's lighter, I don't know, maybe something a little bit colorful. Yeah, I have lots of ideas about Good Bears. I feel like I need to make a hipster Good Bear. I'm thinking like some, you know, canvas shoes, a little beanie, maybe I make some like wire glasses. Yeah, I'm just getting really creative over here. The reason I have been like knitting things like this is because most of my friends are having like their second, third kid now these days. So yeah, I don't knit a lot of baby clothes, mainly because kids just grow out of things so quickly, but I figured a cute little gift like this bear here would be really sweet. So yeah, I'm just kind of feeling the pattern out and trying some things. Granted, they're so cute that I just want to keep them myself. So yeah, Good Bear. I'm envisioning Good Bear needs like a little clothing rack to hang all of his clothes on. My brother does a lot of woodworking, so maybe I'll ask him to make me something. I don't know if he's watching, but if you're watching, maybe you can make me some Good Bear furniture. All right. Enough with a Good Bear. Okay, my last finished object I actually don't have with me here. They were a pair of socks that I gifted my mom for Mother's Day, so I'm just going to show you a little clip of them here. They are knit in Goosey Fibers sock yarn, which is one of my favorite hand dyers, and she has the most luxurious sock bases. I believe this was a 80/20 sock yarn. I had it in my stash for a while. I made a pair of shorties using the Summerly Designs I'm So Basic sock pattern, which is my favorite vanilla sock pattern. I made some contrasting cuffs and toes, and my mom's favorite color is like a light purple, and she loves lavender, so I really loved kind of the green lavender colors in the sock yarn. I thought that kind of screamed spring, and yeah, she really liked them. I hope they fit. I don't think I ever reached out to her to see if she tried them on, but yeah, so happy belated Mother's Day to all you wonderful women out there. I hope you had a great day and maybe some time knitting, which would be really nice. So yeah, so that's it for all of my finished objects. There were quite a few. In terms of upcoming projects, I surprisingly don't have anything on my needles. I do have some yarn that is caked up ready to go for a pair of socks, which I can show you. And then I have one yarn acquisition as well that is really special. Alrighty, so here is the yarn that is caked up and ready to go. This is going to be a pair of socks, or two, I'm hoping. It's a full skein of about 400 yards of sock yarn, and this is Emma's yarn, crazy beautiful color, super silky, and it's in the colorway called Endeavor. It's a 80% superwash merino, 20% silk. So it's kind of a white base with lots of like teal, purpley, some pink speckles in there. I thought these would make a really fun pair of ruffle socks. Summerly Designs has a frills sock pattern, which is part of one of her shorty sock bundles, and I bought that last summer and have made quite a few shorty socks. So I thought a pair of socks would be a really great project to bring camping. We're gonna go camping again this weekend and then in a couple weekends. I just really think socks are a great project to kind of have in your bag at all times. Yeah, and I think these are going to make a really nice pair of socks. I'm undecided on whether I want to make a contrast frill and a heel and toe. I'm kind of just thinking I might try to use this yarn and just make a, you know, one color sock, which is nice because there are no ends to weave in. And I want to comment a little bit about the size of this cake. So I wound this initially into, you know, a standard cake, and when I started knitting with it, the yarn just really was like twisting like more than ever. And I spoke with my friend Nick about this, and he recommended to double wind the yarn, which I think heard of before. I never had done, you know, aside from like unraveling a project, I guess, to reuse the yarn. But I guess when you're, you know, taking yarn off of the Swift and initially winding it, there's just a lot of tension, and sometimes the yarn can be twisting in one direction, which when you then go to knit with it, it will continue to kind of twist and like twists up on itself and gets just a little fiddly. So he recommended to go ahead and just wind it again on the cake, or again on the winder into another cake. So I did that, and I was really like loose with it, which is why this looks so big. It's like very, very fluffy and big, but I'm really excited to see if that's made much of a difference, and I'll be sure to report back, because if that's all it takes to solve that problem, then sign me up. I'm going to be double winding all of my yarn, or double caking all my yarn. So thank you for the tip, Nick. I also want to thank Nick because he got me a pair of Caidree size 1 40-inch needles, which I did not have. I use a lot of Caidree needles, but had never purchased a set for sock knitting. I do, or in the past, have always knit on my Addy Rockets, which they are wonderful needles, but the cords are just, they're just causing me some issues. I do kind of wind up my needles and store them, you know, in this sense here, but the cord tends to reshape into that spiral even when knitting, and it honestly gets a little bit annoying. So I was really excited to get my hands on a pair of the Caidree with the memory-free red lace cord. So excited to see how these work for knitting socks. So thanks, Nick. Alrighty, I have one yarn acquisition to share with you, and like I said earlier, if you've been watching my videos, you will know that I'm trying hard to be mindful of what comes into my stash, and trying really hard to work from stash yarn as well this year. I'm not on any sort of like no buy, you know, rule. However, you know, it's important to me just to make sure that I'm actively using what's in my stash to avoid, you know, the situation where I have too much, where I'm ever overwhelmed with my yarn. So I did not technically buy this yarn. It was a gift. So my husband's best friend visited us a few weeks ago from Tennessee, and he flew into Boston, and that's actually where my husband and I met. So any opportunity we have to kind of explore the city and get back down there, we jump on that. So before picking him up from the airport, we ventured through Cambridge and got some coffee and walked around. Cambridge is a city next to Boston, but very accessible from the middle of Boston via public transport or just driving. So there is a yarn and like a maker's space that I really have been wanting to visit, and so we did just that. So we went to Gather Here. So this is their little bag here and their logo. This is like I said, kind of a craft supply store, as well as a maker space. So in the back they have an area where I believe you can either rent out spaces or sign up for classes and take classes there. It's just a really cool space and environment. And they had lots of beautiful yarn. I was impressed with their selection. They had some knit collage, which I believe is local to Boston or the kind of suburb area. And yeah, some really nice high-end yarn, lots of Brooklyn tweed. We didn't have a lot of time to spend there. I probably could have spent multiple hours there. But yeah, so I was kind of just, perusing the aisles, and I found a yarn that I had never seen before. I was instantly drawn to it, and my husband was with us. So he kind of saw me looking at this yarn, and he ended up buying it for me. He bought me a sweater quantity as a anniversary present, which our anniversary is coming up in a couple weeks. So was really nice in the end. I think yarn for someone like myself is a wonderful gift. I'll be able to enjoy the experience of making something with the yarn, and then having that garment or whatever I choose to make for many years as sort of a memento. So let me go ahead and show you the yarn here. All right. So this is, believe it or not, my first hedgehog fibers acquisition ever. So I've never ever owned any hedgehog fibers. This is in their Tweedy base, which is a 50% merino wool, and the rest is recycled wool, including all these really beautiful little tweed bits, tweedy nebs, I think is what you call them. They're very colorful. I don't know if the camera is doing this justice. There we go. So this is in the shade Lullaby, which is this just beautiful, like pale lavender color, and I was instantly drawn to the base of this. It feels like girly and feminine, and usually not my color, but I was just so drawn to this. I'm really thankful to have gotten my hands on some of this. I'm really excited to use it, and of course now I'm daydreaming what I want to make with it. I'm thinking just like a very basic cardigan, which I know I've been knitting nothing but cardigans this year, but I think having something like this that I could like throw over like a white tank, or even like choose a layer that like a under layer that is one of the colors of the little nebs would be really fun to kind of mix and match like that. It's a DK weight yarn, I believe. It's non-superwash, and in 100 gram skein here there's 230 meters, so I have plenty of yarn to make a garment. So yeah, if you have any recommendations for patterns, please let me know. I might hang on to this until like next spring and have this be kind of a spring knit because of just the color. And we're heading into June, which just being mindful about the months and what I want to make based on the seasons. I think this would be something that would be fun to potentially dig into maybe early early spring next year or even late winter if I feel like it. So yeah, thank you to my husband for buying me, the yarn of my dreams. Alrighty, so that about wraps things up for today's podcast. I apologize if things were a bit rambly. I just felt like I had a lot to share with you. So thanks so much for tuning in for another episode. And as always, happy knitting, and I'll see you next time.